G'day everyone. Welcome back to the Toon podcast, the Southern Hemisphere's biggest and best podcast, all things Newcastle United. A big week, Dimi, and a big week means big guests. We've had this man on plenty of times, and it's always a joy to have him back on. You can find him on Stan Sports. He does footy talk and Willow Talk on the Listener app. He's a father. He's a husband, I think. But before all of that, he's a Newcastle fan, and he's been a Newcastle fan the longest. Adam, how are you going, mate? Good to have you back.
Dimi, Keys, good to see you again, and great to be back in a pretty exciting week.
It's a huge week, absolutely massive week, and I think something that we've probably all been looking forward to for, 5 or 6 weeks now? It's way too long before the semi-final and the final. Not just for us, but I think for the players as well. I think Bruno said as much after the game, Dimi, that he was just, I think the players are just hanging out for this to come. So, but before the final, we have a quick chat about the West Ham game, a 1-0 win in the capital, which means I'm going to regret saying this, that we haven't lost in the capital in 2025 so far. So hopefully we can keep that going. But Dimi, it was a pretty shitty game, let's be honest. There wasn't much good coming from it. But all we wanted was, first of all, I think, for me anyway, it was no injuries or red cards and full availability for Sunday. It was my first sort of thing I needed. Anything after that was a bonus. So I'll take the win. What did you think of it, mate?
Yeah, not a great game. Typical game of us lately, really, where we just don't look. I don't know. We don't look energized. We look a little bit timid at stages. I mean, you touched on it before. I think this break between the semi-final and the final, twice now in 3 years, it's completely cooked us. We've had this massive build-up. The only thing the fans want to talk about is the final. As much as the players say, "Oh, we're focusing on every game," it's rubbish, because you can tell that we're just not the same team as we were prior to making the final. So, look, this morning, you're right, injuries was probably the number one priority, which is stupid to say because we're still well and truly in the European race in the Premier League. But given what we had last weekend with Gordon's red card and what we had a few years ago with Pope's red card, I had a bad feeling this morning that something could go wrong. And when I saw the lineup and I saw the big dog up front, I'm like, God help me if he cops up some sort of soft tissue injury or some stupid two-footed challenge, I might have just I don't know what would I've done. But look, didn't happen. We got the result and clean sheet and good vibes into Sunday, which is, I think, what the club and what the fans needed, given the negativity around the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, just on the lineup, Adam, I know, what would you have done? Would you have gone what Eddie did this morning and gone sort of as good as you can be, or would you maybe have started Wilson and brought Isak on if needed towards the end, or what would you have done?
I think there's too much at play with the Champions League spots now that there's 5 Champions League spots probably for the Premier League. That means so much, and as much as the trophy means a lot to the bottom line, and the uncertainty around what we're allowed to spend, and like, okay, we make the Champions League, we earn an extra 20-30 million pounds. Part thereof goes straight towards giving Alexander Isak an upgraded contract, which he deserves in the summer, to ward off interest elsewhere. I know what I'd be taking. So as much as Sunday will be an immense occasion, and yes, the priority now is absolutely that. I get Eddie's thinking we need 3 points here because the Premier League form has been a little inconsistent the last few weeks, and to get back on the right track with a result and not a performance was good enough.
It's kind of weird, isn't it, Dimi? Like last week, we got some results that we were after and teams drew and lost around us. And then this week, playing the last game, everyone kind of won, which did pile the pressure on to an extent that we kind of needed to get something. And we did, like, albeit it wasn't pretty. But apart from that early chance that West Ham had, it was pretty sort of safe, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Souček almost scored his sort of patented goal every time he plays us. It seems like that guy scores every time he plays us. I don't know if he does anything else in any other game that he plays, but against us, he turns into some sort of world beater from midfield. But you're right, they didn't really look that threatening. I mean, Kudus looked quite dangerous, especially one-on-one with our centre halves when he pulled them out wide, but they didn't look too threatening. It just, I mean, it all set up for us to fail, really. It was a Monday night standalone game, Sky Sports in the UK. It was just this occasion where, generally speaking, Newcastle would flop, and I'm glad that we had we showed the character that, yes, we didn't play our best and our performance wasn't great, but we dug in, and this is what we used to do under Eddie Howe before we started getting some of these extra special players. We used to dig in and get 1-0s, 2-1s, especially that first season under Eddie when we battled away from
just
the
find a way.
bottom three. Yeah, we just found a way. We weren't swashbuckling every week, but we had that drive and that sort of mentality. We could grind results, and I think that's what's going to take this weekend. We're not going to be able to play Liverpool off the park, so we're going to have to be able to grind and do some of the dark arts like we used to do with Pope going down injured after 15 minutes so he can do a team talk and all that sort of stuff. We're going to need to do all of those greatest hits. Yeah, all those greatest hits to get the chocolates this weekend. But definitely it was needed today, and the vibes needed to be turned around.
Yeah, I think the performance, like as poor as the game was, I think just the confidence, Adam, and momentum, getting a win, going into the cup final is probably massive, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the players that are going to play a huge part on Sunday played their part. Bruno, Harvey Barnes looks like he's going to get a start with Anthony Gordon out, and Livramento needed at left back now. Obviously, he can go toe-to-toe pace-wise with Mohamed Salah on that side in the final, but whether or not he'll have the smarts to be able to do something about it. Like I watched closely Mendes from PSG do a number on Salah, basically one-on-one. He just didn't leave his pocket for that first leg. Obviously, the second leg's to come at Anfield. But, yeah, it's important in many respects for the team that's pretty much going to take its place at Wembley to get a bit about it and get that result. The result means absolutely everything out of that game. And Eddie Howe saying defensively we were back to where we want to be in defending the box and all of those things. And it's going to be needed in the final because Liverpool, in all probability, will have better chances. I dare say they'll be able to fashion better chances is what we do to repel that and create our own that'll count on Sunday.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to sort of see which way we go, whether we go toe-to-toe like we did at St James's Park earlier this season, that 3-3 draw, which was an unreal game to watch as a Newcastle fan, never mind in neutral. I thought it was amazing. But, Dimi, we'll just quickly go over the goal. Mate, Bruno, Harvey Barnes was quite a nice cross, actually, from just outside the edge of the box. It sort of went in, come back out again. It was kind of like a dead ball, really. He kind of stopped it and then just dinked it over the top. And I don't know about you, I thought Bruno was offside pretty comfortably given the space he had when he took the shot. And then so I was probably a bit subdued watching it, thinking it's probably going to be offside, but it was clearly on. It was a great finish. The only issue I sort of bring up was on the replays, the push from Isaac in the box. Anywhere else, and it happened, I think they showed it on the Optus coverage after the game with Michael Owen and Nicky Butt. There was a push about 30 seconds after the kickoff that was exactly the same that they paid a foul for. It wasn't a foul, though, was it? Let's be honest.
I mean, the bloke he pushed, Kilman, he's about 6'6". He's a massive man. If he's falling off, he's leaning forward after that slight touch by Isaac, then we got an issue. I mean, look, live, the ref could have been sucked in because Kilman threw himself forward, but after the goal was given, unless I don't know what would have happened if the VAR overturned it. They're not supposed to this year overturn decisions that are not clear and obvious, and that's clearly not a clear and obvious error. So once the offside was cleared, it was for me a clean goal, and I think it was credit for Barnes because he did look the more lively of our attacking options in the first half. He had a couple of decent half chances, and he is someone who can score a goal, and he is someone who, despite not getting a consistent run, for some one of his skills, he just comes up in the right area, and he does have that bit of quality that sometimes we lack. And sometimes we try to dribble the ball around and just never get that shot away, never get a crossway. Sometimes it's okay to cross the ball because Bruno might make a run, someone could make a late run, and you score a goal. So it's important for Barnes as well, Barnes' confidence as well, because he hasn't been given the clear run. Obviously, Gordon's clear number one at left wing, and he's not really a right winger. Barnes, he's struggled at that position. So for him, I think it's a great fill-up before the final to get that assist and to make sure that he's sort of primed in confident form, because we've seen him cut in, crack a shot, score a worldie. We might need a goal out of nothing in the final, and he's on his day, he can do that.
It's crazy too, isn't it, Adam? Like when you think about it, Harvey Barnes never really had an injury history until he joined us, and he's had a few setbacks along the way, and with the whole reshuffle when he was injured last year, ended up with Gordon on the left, which has turned him into a probably nearly first picked England international, as luck would have it, true Newcastle fashion, that he gets himself suspended. And Harvey Barnes gets the chance to come back in and potentially make a hero of himself. Like, it's funny how all these things work, isn't it?
Yeah, we're lucky to have that depth. We've spent a lot of money on the guy, and he is quality when he's 100% fit. It's just, yeah, but himself and Joe Willock haven't really had the seasons where it's pushing to claim a first team spot, whereas Jacob Murphy has kind of showed that consistency. And it's pretty obvious that Harvey Barnes, well, obvious from the outside looking in, you don't know the whole story, that Eddie Howe's training regime, which is a high intensity training method, I don't think he's been able to cope body-wise for it. He's probably never had anything like this in his life in terms of what's expected on the training ground and also when they play. So that might be a pointer as why he hasn't been able to stay out there. But yeah, those two, if they can rise to some kind of occasion, and like Joe Willock 2 years ago was in incredible form. He was absolutely fantastic for us in games. I went to a game at Southampton where we picked apart the home side and they sacked their manager after the game, and he was fantastic that day. And I saw him come on this morning, and it was, he just looks out of sync. And Harvey Barnes has been like that throughout the season, but hopefully what he did this morning means that there's better things to come against Liverpool in the final.
Absolutely. And just, hopefully, like you said, Dimi, it's just that little injection of confidence that he needs, knowing he's probably going to start the game and he's going to go in with a good mindset, a positive mindset, knowing he's contributed to the win this morning and stuff like that. So we might park the West Ham chat there. We don't really care about that anymore, and we'll never probably talk about it again. But cup final, before we go any further, it's probably remiss of me to remind everyone of the meetups around the country through Aussie Mags and stuff like that. So if you're in Melbourne, it's at the CQ Sports Bar. Doors open at 10 o'clock. In Sydney, the Cheers Bar downstairs. Adam, I'm sure you've done some of your best work in the Cheers Bar over the course of the years, mate. Doors open at 11 o'clock there. Brisbane's at the Pig and Whistle. Adelaide is at the newly renovated Arca Bar in the Sporties Bar. They'll have it there. Perth at the Federal Hotel in Fremantle from 8:30 p.m. onwards. So if you are in and around them capital cities, please head to one of them venues and just consume the game with a whole bunch of like-minded fans. We've been to a couple of just standard games, haven't we, Dimi, in Melbourne at the Pig and Whistle, and the atmospheres are off the charts just for them games. So I'd hate to think what a cup final atmosphere would look like. So if you are around and you don't want to sit at home by yourself, you want to get around everyone else, I suggest you head on. If you don't remember any of that, head on to the Aussie Mags on socials, and they've got a nice little graphic for all the other people to see where they are. So, Dimi, where are you? Are you going into the CBD, or are you going to watch it at home?
Now, I've already told the missus. I said, look, it's cup final day. I'll be out by about 10 o'clock. Should hit the city about 10:30, 10:45, and hopefully won't be back till early Monday morning. Got the day off, so it's destined to be either a wonderful Monday. I've sort of sold it to the missus. Look, I don't want a birthday present. Just let me do this. I'm gonna have a big Sunday evening, Monday morning, and hopefully it's well worth the trek to the city and not sleeping from all night really till night.
I'm proud of you for saying you'll be home Monday too. You've come a long way. Old Dimi wouldn't have done this. Children's change you for sure. I thought it might have been a Monday week kind of thing. If we win, I'll be home at 8 o'clock Monday morning, or you won't see me until next.
Not sure I can pull that hall pass, mate. But look, I'll take the the one night pass, and hopefully it's well worth it.
How about you, Adam? How are you going to be consuming the game?
Yeah, I live about 45 to 50 minutes away from Cheers Bar, so that's a long schlep in it's a big weekend, and I like watching games by myself. I've got to be honest, to just like live through the turmoil by myself. And with all due respect to other people, I just like not talking while the game's on and fully appreciating what's going on. Sometimes I don't even watch with the sound on. It's ridiculous.
So I've had a few games this year with some of the commentary that was really starting to do my nut in. So I've just happily hit the mute button and just let me watch it, and I can watch it with my own eyes and figure out what's going on. If there's a pause in play, I might unmute it just to try and find out what the issue is and stuff like that. And as soon as play resumes, bang, back on mute and let me watch it again. I'm similar to you, mate. I'm probably an hour out of the Melbourne CBD, and as much as I love Dimi and all the friends that we've made through Aussie Mags in Melbourne that we've met at the other meetups, 3:30 on a Monday morning is just an absolute killer. Trying to drive home back to Geelong at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning is just, it's not going to work. I know it's not going to work for me, and I'm probably just going to play it safe and enjoy it here. And if we win, Dimmy, I might be on the 8 o'clock train back up to Melbourne to find you, and we can run amok for a little bit. So the game,
on me, mate.
Yeah, all right. We'll be having a liquid breakfast too if we win. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
So I think what I was kind of thinking about this morning and this afternoon was the formation. Do you think Dimi will go with the tried and tested 4-3-3, or will we go for the kind of 5-3-2 that worked really, really well against Arsenal, gives us that bit of, I guess, the bit extra stability at the back as well, perhaps maybe catch them unaware? How do you think we'll kind of play the game?
I think in an ideal world, I think Eddie would want to play that 5 at the back that he did for the semi-final. But with Botman's injury, I don't think we can pull. I mean, I love you, Millcraft, but I don't think he's up for being one of the 3 centre halves in a cup final. I don't think we can take that chance. And because we have no other centre backs, my mate Lascelles is still coming back from his injury. We just don't have any other options but to play the 4-3-3, in my opinion. And it's going to be interesting what Eddie thinks and how we can attack this game, because obviously you can't go too defensive and not cause a threat to Liverpool, because I'll eventually just pick you apart because they're that good. But you can't go too gung-ho as well, because if you cop a couple of early goals and you're chasing the game, then you're cooked as well. So it's going to be interesting. I'm sure Eddie's obviously been thinking about this for a long time, and he's hopefully got some sort of better understanding now that Botman's been ruled out, that he can sort of carve a better game plan. But for me, I think it's going to have to be the 4-3-3, and we're going to have to rely on a big game from our midfield 3, and hopefully they're up for it.
Adam, how about you, mate? Do you think we'll go tried and tested or spring a surprise?
Yeah, I'm with Demi. I don't think he has a choice depth-wise to play 3 centre-backs. Unfortunately, unless he does something completely wild and puts Trippier there, but I can't see that happening. So, yeah, I think it's a 4-3-3. With Joel Linton there, you've got that engine that can break up play. I think it's really noticeable when he's not there, in terms of oppositions trying to play through us. I honestly think PSG gave us a bit of a template. Like, obviously, the only league game, or the first game that they dropped all season and only game they dropped for a very long time, was against Nottingham Forest, who kind of sat off, and they're probably the best counter-attacking team in the division, Nottingham Forest. Can we do that? Probably not. I don't think we're good enough to do that. So I actually think that PSG showed a bit of a template last week in Paris and just attack them without the ball. When we don't have the ball, I should say. Like, just attack them and put them under pressure and see if they can play through us or over us, which they eventually did against PSG, remarkably. 1 shot on target, 1 goal, 1-0 win. But I just think that it's going to have to be a ridiculous tempo and just try and make it a little bit messy, perhaps, and not allow them to dictate terms, especially with their midfield 3 who are so good.
Yeah, and it is interesting because I wonder if part of the reason we went to that sort of 5-3-2 was because Joelinton wasn't playing that game, and we sort of went for that. We could afford to play Botman at the back because, I mean, it was kind of, was it Willock, was it Longstaff, Miley maybe, but Botman was probably that more stable, I guess, and the way they kind of worked it worked really well. Although it was a sort of 5 at the back, it was a really aggressive 5 at the back. I remember Shah and Botman to an extent really getting up high and pressing in a, like our own attacking half and stuff like that. And I'm with you, Adam. I think that's the way we've got to go. We can't be sort of passive. And I know there's still a few games to go, but it's not a cliche. Like, this is our grand final. And I think we've got to just go chips in, absolutely run ourselves into the ground, and hopefully that's enough. And I do think even with Gordon not playing, we still have that quality, especially in the middle of the park. And Bruno, like this morning, got forward. Tenali can get forward and score. Joelinton, although I'm not sure he means it most of the time, he does have the potential to go forward and score as well. So we do have options who can score and who can hurt them. But, yeah, I think it's the whole let's not be scared. And I reckon the Man United game a couple of years ago, we're too timid. I think the occasion might have got to us a bit, and hopefully most of the players that are playing, apart from Tenali, I think probably played or were in the squad for that game. So they've learned a lot, and hopefully they can learn from that occasion and really give a really good account of themselves. And I think most people would probably agree that we didn't give a good account of ourselves in that game. It was probably one of the worst games we played for that season, to be honest, and we saved it for the cup final. So, Jimmy, it's a big week. What are you looking forward to most about the week?
Monday morning, 3:30.
Before the game, just the lead up to the game. Is there something that you really enjoy?
To be honest, the first time 2 years ago, the final, because it was the first one in 20 years, I soaked up the week probably a little bit more than I will this time. This time, I mean, the players should be the same. It's all about business for us. I mean, there's no point just making finals and not getting the result. I think we have to treat it as supporters. Obviously, it's a big occasion. It's a massive chance for us to break our trophy drought, but we can't get sucked up in the entire festivities and then by kickoff, the fans, players, club are cooked. Because that's what happened last time. Everyone was so hyped up. Trafalgar Square was
the Trafalgar
heaving.
Square party. Yeah. God, everyone didn't.
It was heaving.
That's what I'm looking forward to again.
Yeah, that's my thing. Yeah,
waking up Sunday morning and seeing they'll just not destroy the joint, but they'll take over the joint for the afternoon and early evening before they get moved on by the local constabulary. So, it'd be unreal.
Yeah, that's my favourite part, and I don't know why. Last year, not last year, the year before, it was the videos when in the change rooms, the Wembley change rooms, with all the Newcastle stuff up on the walls and stuff. It was just like, oh, holy shit, we're in the cup final. Like, we're never at Wembley. So I don't know why. I just really liked that part of it because we've never really seen it, especially since Wembley's been renovated and upgraded and stuff like that. We hadn't seen it before. So maybe it might be a little bit different this time. But, yeah, definitely Trafalgar Square's the one for me. And the whole week, Dimmy, do you have apart from that, is there something that's your favourite part of the week? Is it the pre-game? Is it the Trafalgar Square? Is it the flag sort of displays that you're looking forward to the most?
I think it's the pre-game, and I think when the players walk out and you see the flags, that's when it's going to hit home. Like I did last time, and the whole pub last time I was watching it at the Imperial with all the Aussie Mags Newcastle fans, and everyone was pumped when obviously we came out, and that was sort of the peak of our evening because we didn't do much when the game started. But I think
the flags at the end were pretty cool too.
Yeah, I mean, we're 2-0 down. I mean,
yeah, it didn't matter, but that still looked good.
It was the 80-minute mark, wasn't it? That they all just decided to just make a party of it.
Yeah, well, we had our flags, might as well use them. But
brilliant.
No, look, I think as the players walk out, I think that's going to be the moment. I think always in a big football game, when your team walks out is the most emotional that I get. I remember, I think I told you last time, Keegs, at the World Cup, when the first time I saw Australia play, when they walked out against France in Russia 2018, and that was just hit me. I just started crying, and Mrs. like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" I said, "This is huge, Katie." I said, "I'm watching my country World Cup against France." I said, "This is
Did
enormous."
you cry at childbirth?
Probably.
Probably
Uh,
not. No, don't lie.
You did cry when your child was born as well.
Look, I will not confirm or deny what I did, but I can get emotional. I can get caught up in the event, but it's a big thing, and obviously childbirth aside, Newcastle is a massive part of my life, and I've and you guys obviously a little bit older than me and probably suffered a little bit more than me, but I've not seen any success at this club, and it would mean everything for us to get a chance to hold that trophy up at Wembley, and the fact that we're going to be in the final game, where even though it's only to some people like Carabao Cup, who cares? But for us to be walking out onto Wembley with 40,000 Geordies there screaming a sign, it's going to be a massive moment, and that's when I think it'll really hit home for me.
It is. This might be a little bit controversial, Adam, but I'm an honest guy, so I'll be upfront. I've been waiting for this, and I've been looking forward to this nearly my whole life. And my counter argument would be, when I was a young kid dressed in full kit, my parents really loved me and would put me in a full Newcastle kit from pretty much. I've got some real early photos. I think I've got a knee on the ground. The soccer ball's like past my waist. That's how small I was doing this full kit stuff. But for as long as I can remember, I've wanted Newcastle to win something, and I've never. And I think girls are a little bit different because they want to get married and they want kids and all that sort of stuff. That never crossed my mind. It was always, I wanted to go to St James's Park and I want to watch Newcastle win something. And the fact that we are a genuine 50-50 chance to do that this weekend, it'll probably be right up there with the birth of my kids and stuff like that as well, because it's something that I've wanted to do and wanted to see my whole life. Now, kids didn't come on the scene till a bit later, maybe when I was an adult, but definitely in them, even your Fox Sports years, mate, and you were like the beacon for all Newcastle supporters in this country, because you were the only one that was on TV that could relate to us and what we were going through every single season, and to put up with all that and to kind of come full circle to where we are now, where we are competing for trophies and stuff like that. It's something that I am genuinely looking forward to.
Yeah. Yeah, likewise. It makes you think and act irrationally
especially when the game's on.
yeah, exactly. But looking around it, like about a month ago, I remember having the conversation, which ended up being a pretty quick conversation with my wife about possibly going to the game. And she, like, look, I've got too much work on either side of the game, so it's probably not feasible anyway. But she just looked at me, through me, around me, as if to say, why? And I couldn't actually articulate it well enough about. I wish I.
It's a feeling, yeah.
First things to say about that, but look, it would have been wonderful to go, but it's still going to be wonderful to be able to watch. But yeah, I'll bring this out again. I think I brought it out last time, but it's the family heirloom. For anyone listening to this and not seeing it, it's the Wembley. So it's like it's almost like one of those things that they stick on a girl at a prom. It's like a badge, but it's so flimsy. It's got 4 staples in it. It's a piece of gold cardboard with some ribbons on it, and it says, stapled in the middle with a very rusty staple in the middle, it says Wembley 1974 Newcastle United. Now, hopefully there's not an omen, because in 1974, Newcastle went to Wembley in the first weekend of May and got absolutely towed by Liverpool in the FA Cup final, which ended up being Shankly's last ever game in charge. So hopefully there's a different story to be written this weekend as opposed to this. But this sits on my shelf. I look at it most days, just as a reminder about it. It's just so cool. I'm so glad I found it through my late dad's old stuff. And Keegs, you got a shirt given to you this recently as well. That kind of.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I might hold it up as well. My old man was doing a bit of a clean out of his cupboard, and he's found this. I don't even know when it's from. It's a St James's Park. It's a grey shirt. Says there is a light that never goes out, and that sort of St James's Park there. Yeah, it's interesting that it says the capacity is 70,000 on it as well, which yeah, sort of might speak to how old the shirt is, because I definitely can't remember any time when the capacity has officially been 70,000. I've got a feeling might be a bit of like the Melbourne Cup, the AFL Grand Final at the MCG, Dimmy, where the attendance is always 100,024 because that's what they're licensed to have. Whereas I think you find on most grand finals there's a lot more than 100,024 that are actually inside the ground. But one more thing I want to maybe touch on just quickly, the keeper situation. Do you think is Nick Pope going to get his redemption and start on the weekend, or do you think it's a bit of a horses for courses, Dimmy?
It's really strange because I would have thought since Dubravka got the Guernsey again last week in the FA Cup game, after Pope had got it back in the Premier League the week before, I thought that was going to be it, and Dubravka was going to be the keeper going forward. But the fact he's gone back to Popey means that I think Eddie, in his heart of hearts, trusts Pope more than he trusts Dubravka. And you can't. I mean, he could do it, but surely you can't go back to Dubravka now for the final. You can't just be rotating.
Yeah.
You can't just be rotating keeper in and out every game. So look, Popey, he's obviously hasn't had the greatest season for us, but if you ask any Newcastle supporter at the start of the season, he's obviously clearly the number one, and he's been a fantastic player for us. He's had wonderful games, wonderful seasons. We don't need wonderful games or seasons. We just need one game. We need 90 minutes plus however long added time is. Wonderful performance from him. We don't need him running 40 yards up the pitch trying to head the ball and getting sent off.
Oh, geez, mate, my heart skipped a beat this morning when he did that. Jesus Christ. Oh.
I don't know what he was thinking, because I know every Newcastle supporter watching that was thinking, you clown, you're going to do it again. You're going to get yourself sent off.
You don't want to play.
No. So thank goodness he didn't do that. But look, I think now that Eddie chose Popey this morning, it's going to have to be him. And the only argument, in my opinion, for Pope is probably his command of the box. But Liverpool don't seem to me like a dominant aerial team. So that's a little bit contradictory. But look, you've got to go Pope now. You can't be 3 games in a row, 3 different goalkeepers. You can't do that.
You can. And it could.
You reckon?
Yeah. It's shot stopping. That's surely what defines it, because Liverpool are going to have shots. It's not going to be the PSG game where they're going to have one shot on goal. They're going to have opportunities, and shot stopping is going to play a part. Will they go full tilt press on us? Maybe on Pope, maybe not on Dubravka. I'm not sure. I can put it this way: it's a better situation than what we're in 2 years ago.
Exactly.
With all due respect to Loris Karius.
He's a big fan of the show, but I'm sure he understands the situation that he was in.
He does. Like he barely played in 18 months, 2 years when he get that gig, and he played okay. It wasn't his fault that Newcastle didn't come away with a result. But yeah, it's such a difficult choice, and you're right. It is one of the big stories of the week, because Dubravka was told that he was off to Saudi, didn't he? And then he wasn't allowed. So obviously, and that sounds like something that came out of the finance department. It was like, oh, you might need to sell because we might be in trouble. Actually, no, we're not. You don't need to sell. And Eddie was like, we're not selling. So that might happen in the summer. But can he go wrong? I don't think so. That's the good thing about it. Both have shown enough to warrant their spot. So line ball decision. Thank God I'm not Eddie.
Yeah, he's going to piss off someone, I reckon, and I'm glad.
Dubravka's wife, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's already off the Christmas card list for Mrs. Dubravka. All right, boys. We'll wrap it up there. Dimmy, thanks for jumping on. Adam, really appreciate your time again, mate. I know you've got a big morning. For those of you, you'll find him at 6:30. You guys start on air. Yep. Is that right? Yep. On Stan Sports, all their Champions League coverage. You'll see Adam there. Hopefully tomorrow morning, Liverpool and PSG belt the absolute suitcases out of each other. Extra time.
Hopefully you'll see me at 10 a.m. on Stan Sport, because that'll mean the game's gone to extra time.
Yeah.
And we're still going on air. Like wrapping what will be a fantastic game and a fantastic thing for Newcastle. But just in closing, I just had a look at the history of St James's Park. The record attendance is listed at 68,386. Newcastle Chelsea in 1930.
which is what it
Wow.
says on here. The record attendance is 68,386. So
that shirt's from 95 years ago. That's a
I don't think so. No, this might be a
95-year-old
replica.
shirt.
I don't think it's that old, but yeah, it's definitely like there's four massive
How good's
light
that?
towers, and yeah, I've got no idea. I don't even know. It doesn't even have a bloody.
I reckon it's from the early 70s before they started to have to maybe configure things. So I heard
It would
stories
have to
from
be,
my old
yeah.
man when he went in the early 50s. He said you'd go and you get absolutely crushed at one end. Like there was just way too many people standing room only. It was listed as 50,000 people, but there was probably 70,000 in the ground. So
Every home game. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's nuts. So yeah, shout out to Dad for handing that down. It's probably going to stay with me for a while, and hopefully I've got the privilege to hand it down as well. Yeah, Adam, thank you. Hopefully, I'm not sure what your overtime rates are for tomorrow morning, but hopefully you do get to cash in a little bit with some double bubble and extra time and penalties, which would be great. We don't wish bad things upon anyone, but if Mo could potentially just nick a string, nothing serious, nothing to stop them winning the league, but maybe just a 1 week.
Yeah, just a week.
I'm sure we could all agree.
Grade 1, yeah.
Don't risk it. It's fine. That would be absolutely fantastic, because if Mo doesn't play, I don't think Liverpool tick like they do. He's one of the best players I've seen in the Premier League, and I'm sure if he sort of redone an all-time Premier League 11, he'd probably have a starting spot on that left wing. That's how bloody good he's been, and on the right wing. Sorry. So, yeah, everyone tune in. I think you'll be on for the rest of the Champions League tournament as well, Adam. So not just tomorrow morning, be Thursday morning, and then all the other finals after that, whether it's the quarters and the semis and stuff. So you'll find him there. Hopefully next time we speak, Adam, we've got a big fat trophy in the middle of the cabinet, and me and Dimi haven't slept since this conversation. So
fair enough. Good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate it. Hopefully you can enjoy the game in your peace and quiet of your own home. It's funny, we've spoke about this before, but the noises that you do find yourself making at 3:30 in the morning when things happen that you don't want to wake the whole house up that could be a podcast on its own with the noises that you make. So hopefully you can make some of them. Hopefully I can do the same thing. Dimi, I'm sure you'll be off the absolute Richter, shirts off, chest pubes out, the whole lot if we do score or win. Even a goal, like all three finals all three finals in my lifetime at least, we haven't even scored. So just a goal at Wembley it's not too much to ask, surely. And with the big dog up top, hopefully it's as good a possibility as it's ever been since another number 9 that was playing in their late 90 cup finals. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be back later in the week. I think we're going to do a full roll call of the Toon Under podcast. We'll all be on talking about the cup final. So that'll be either Thursday or Friday. Can't wait for that. Adam, thank you very much again. Good luck with you for the rest of the season with your podcasting and your hosting duties. Dimi, we'll see you again in a couple of days, mate. Thank you both for joining us.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, lads.
And we'll see you all later on in the week.